In this video, we will see the types of machine learning algorithms. So in machine learning, we have various classification of algorithms. So one of the classification is we can classify the algorithms into supervised, unsupervised, and then reinforcement learning. Now let us understand what is supervised learning. Supervised learning is nothing but it is similar to the way you learn from your teachers. When you go to the school or when you start your first day of your schooling, you don't know how to write alphabets. Your teacher might have told you, if you want to write A, you have to write in this. So from that only you are learning. There is some supervisor, that supervisor is teaching us. From them we are learning. And that is called as supervised learning. So supervised learning has the presence of a supervisor or a teacher. And the algorithm is trained in this supervised learning on labeled data set. This is a very important thing. Whatever data set you are using, for every record in the data set, we are going to give labels. With the help of the label only, you are going to identify them. For example, if I have 10 records in my database, I will, if it is related to fruit, if the first fruit is apple, I will say the label of the first record is apple. If the second is banana, I will say that the label is banana. So with the help of the label only, this supervised learning algorithm will work because it needs somebody to supervise. Here, which is going to supervise is the label only. So this algorithm is generally trained on labeled data set. And the data is already tagged with the correct answer. That is very important. You have to tag it with the correct answer. Suppose for a picture of banana, if you are giving the label as apple, you are training the algorithm in a wrong way. Okay, so the labeling is very, very important in this. So for that only, we say when you go for supervised learning for healthcare, we need the domain expert advice. For example, in healthcare, I am going to say whether a person is having cancer or not. But I am not a domain expert. I cannot predict it. So I should get the advice of the domain expert. With the help of the doctor's advice only, I can give the labels properly to the images. Otherwise, if my labeling is wrong, the output will also be wrong. The data is already tagged with the correct answer and the machine is trained and a model is developed. And in this, we provide the machine with a lot of data about every case. For example, if you want to train the machine to predict the fruit from the image, apple, banana, and other things, you have to train with a lot of data. Then only the machine will learn the features. Okay, and we are also, during training, we are also providing it with the label. That is nothing but the outcome of that particular item. So with the help of this only, machine is learning it. So here the outcome is called as label data and other information. If I say that the label is banana, then why I am giving the image of a banana? Because from that only it will be learning other features. So once you train, during training only you will give the labels. With the help of the label, it will say first learn the features from the image, then it will associate those features with banana. Later, when that is appearing in your image, it will say that the label of this particular item is banana. Okay, so what is happening here is the outcome is called as label data, while the rest of the information what you are providing, that is nothing but the image you are providing. From that, it is going to learn various features. So that is very, very important. And after the learning is over, when the machine is provided with new set of examples, then the algorithm will give you the correct outcome, which is nothing but a label will be given as the output. And in this, as I already mentioned, a very important thing is that the data needs to be labeled accurately. Otherwise, this method will not work well. Now let us see the example for supervised learning. So here I have an image classifier. I want to classify the images of cats and dogs and other animals. So here I have taken two cases only, cats and dogs. So what I will do is initially I will give so many images of cats and dogs and I'll be training the algorithm with the help of these images. And finally, when I give the image of a cat, it will say that the output is cat. So here the input, if you consider the input, this is the input is my image and every input is associated with the labels. If you don't give this label as cat and dog, if you simply give the image, it cannot predict you that this is an image of a cat or this is an image of a dog. So here in supervised learning, the labels are very important. Every input is having associated labels. And once you train it properly, if you give any unknown images of cat or dog, it will say that this is a cat, this is a dog. So how it is doing is, it is learning the features. With the help of features only, it is going to predict it. In supervised learning, we have basically two types. One is called as classification and the other is called as regression. Now let me tell you what is unsupervised learning. So in case of unsupervised learning, your input data is not labeled. This is an important difference. Your input data is not labeled. And here the algorithm has to learn all the information without the guidance. And in this, the task of the machine is to group. The machine can only group. It cannot do any other thing. The task of the machine is to group unsorted information according to some similarity, or otherwise there will be some pattern or some differences. So it is going to group all the information based upon the similarity or otherwise pattern only. And it is not going to get any prior training on the data, which is not required. That is, no label is required for this. And in this, no supervisor is provided and no training will be given to the machine from the supervisor. But machine will be learning something. For that, you need the training data set. Okay, that we will see later. But the supervisor will not be training the machine. So the machine should find the hidden structure in the unlabeled data by itself. So here, the very important thing is, it is going to find the hidden structure in the data. So now this is an example for unsupervised learning. I have an algorithm. This algorithm I have to now develop. So if you consider this, we are giving some input. None of the input is labeled here. Everything is image of a fruit only. I'm not labeling anything. So when I do that, the machine cannot say, this is an image of an apple, or this is an image of lime and so on. That is not possible. What the machine can do is, if you consider, I have 4 different images here, that of apple, watermelon, then lemon, and then avocado. So what the machine is going to do is, it is going to group only the related images together. It will never say that this is an image of an apple or this is an image of a watermelon. So in this, what is possible is only grouping of similar images can happen. This is called as unsupervised learning. And in unsupervised learning, we have 2 different types. One is called as clustering and the other is called as association. So now let us see about a classification. So now what is classification is, it is a supervised learning task. And in this, the output is having defined labels. That is called as classification. So what is the meaning of defined labels? That means you're going to have only discrete values in your output. So let me explain. If you consider this particular example, I have two different labels only. One is the label of a cat or label of a dog. Or sometimes I can give you 5 fruits like watermelon, banana, apple. Like that, I can give you 5 fruit. So I have only 5 different labels. So in case of classification problem, it is a supervised learning task where your output is going to have defined labels. That is nothing but only discrete values. It will not be continuous. And the goal of the classification algorithm is to predict the discrete values belonging to a particular class. So in this, I have 2 classes, cat and dog. If I give my input image, it will say that the image is the image of a cat or it is the image of a dog. So it has to predict only the class. And machine learning algorithms will learn how to assign a class label to a particular example for the particular problem domain. For example, once you design an image classifier which can classify cats and dogs, with the help of that, you can classify only cats and dogs. You cannot classify an apple and banana with that algorithm. It is not at all possible. Okay, so the machine learning algorithms will work only for a specific problem domain. You cannot use them for all the domains. And the examples I have shown here are classifying the images as cat and dog. And we can even have the email classification as spam and not spam. That is also comes under classification. Because here in spam and not spam, if you see your output, there are only 2 labels. One is spam label, another is not spam label. When we have defined labels, then we will say that it is a classification problem. And in classification, we have 3 different types. One is called as binary classification, another is multi-class classification, and the other is multi-label classification. So let us consider binary classification. So binary means only 2 output will be there, 0 or 1. Here in binary classification, we have only 2 labels. So now you know that classification means we are going to associate with the help of discrete labels. So in binary classification, we have only 2 labels. So there will be only 2 classes and your algorithm is going to predict which is the class corresponding to a particular data that is given as input. So predicting one of the 2 classes is the output of this algorithm. And it involves one class that is normal state and the other class that is abnormal state. For example, when we consider the email spam and not spam, in that the normal mails are not spam mails only. So it will consider all the not spam mails as normal state and spam mails as abnormal state. And if you consider the disease detection system, in that, if my aim is cancer a person is having cancer or not. So in that, the normal state is cancer not detected. A person who is normal person is my normal state. And if a person is having cancer, that is our normal state. That only I'm going to detect. So I will have only two possible outputs in this. So that is called as binary classifier. So in this, spam is one possible output, another is not spam. So we have only two possible outputs. And what is multi-class classification? So in multi-class classification, we will have more than two classes in the output. In the previous case, we have only two classes in the output. But here, in multi-class classification, we will have more than two classes in our output. So output label will be having many different values. And in this, you can consider the example of diabetic retinopathy. So this is a very famous application of ML, multi-class classification problem. So what is this diabetic retinopathy is? Nowadays, whenever people are having diabetic, they will be getting all the other diseases which are related to that. And one of the important problem the people will be getting because of diabetic is the retina of the people will be affected. So they have conducted survey and this is currently detected. And in diabetic retinopathy, they have identified that based upon the severity, we have different 5 different classes of the output. So one is if your eyes are normal, you will have no DR. DR stands for diabetic retinopathy. And the second stage can be mild DR. And the next stage is moderate DR. Next stage is severe DR. And then last stage is proliferated DR. So when we are in the last stage, our eyes will be affected. It will be affecting our vision. So these things are happening only due to diabetic. Okay, and in this, my aim is if I design a system for identifying the level of DR, I can train a classifier. If you consider this, I have 5 different categories: no DR, mild DR, moderate, severe, and proliferative. So in that case, my output should be any one of these cases. If I give any image as input, for example, here this is a perfect image, I will be getting the output as no DR. So similarly, your system should be able to detect all the 5 different cases. So in this, your output will have any one of these 5 labels, not all simultaneously. Output will be only one label only, but any one of these 5 combinations. So that is called as multi-class classification problem. Now let us consider the next important category. It is multi-label classification. So what is the difference between multi-class classification and multi-label classification is, in multi-class, your output can be any one of these 5 classes. At the same time, you cannot have no DR as well as mild DR in your output. It can be anyone. This is multi-class. But what is multi-label classification is, you consider this particular example. This is one image. From this image, I want to identify what are the objects that are present in the image. Suppose if I have trained the system by passing images of 3 different objects. One is cat, another is dog, another is bench. I have trained only with these different images. I didn't train with the help of an image of a tree. I have trained only with cat image, dog image, and bench image. Now this figure is having all the 3. Cat is present, dog is present, as well as bench is there. So it will show me all the 3 labels, as this is a cat and this is a dog and this is a bench. Why I'm not getting for tree and other things is, during the training, I have not trained with the images of trees and other things. So it will not be able to identify that. So this is called as multi-label classification. So in one image, you will be getting multiple labels, whichever is present in that. And if you have trained that, it will be detecting and giving you the perfect label. So multi-label classification is a classification task that have 2 or more class labels at the same time. Okay. And here the photo classification is an example. So as I already told you, in binary classification and multi-class classification, we are going to predict only single class label as the output. Whereas in case of multi-label classification task, in one image itself, we are going to predict multiple labels. That is the main difference. So with this, classification is over. Now let us see what is regression. Now you know that classification means we are going to predict the discrete values in the output. That is nothing but discrete labels we are going to predict. But regression is not going to be associated with discrete values. So whenever your output variable is a real variable or continuous variable, then we will say that we are going to use the technology of regression to predict it. So for example, a famous example for regression algorithm is prediction of house prices. So if I give you what is the locality of the house and how many rooms are there in the house and what is the square feet and what are the amenities you have in the house. Then with the help of that, you can predict the house. So why house price comes under the regression problem is your house price may be 2 crore or 1.5 crore or 1 crore or 1.005 crore, anything. It is going to have discrete continuous values. If it is going to have only discrete values, that will never come under the regression category. But here the price can be anything. It will take all the possible continuous values. So if that is the case, we are going to use the algorithm called regression. So if I say that predict the salary, salary can take any continuous value. So that is nothing but it is a regression task. If I say predict your age, it is a regression problem. And in regression, we have different types that we will see in the next unit. And in case of regression, it is a process of finding a model or function to fit the data with the best, there is a spelling mistake here, with the best line which is going to connect all the points. For example, in case of regression, you will have some dependent variables and independent variables. For example, in the house price prediction, the dependent variable is the house price. That is the final output. So that is called as Y, that is the dependent variable. And the input variables are your number of rooms and the locality of the house and the square feet, everything, they are independent variables. With the help of these variables, you are going to predict your price. So you can plot the relation between the independent variables and the dependent variables. When you plot the points, finally, in case of regression, you should be able to fit a best curve or a line with the help of which you can predict the output. Suppose here in this, I can draw a straight line like this with the help of the line. If I give you any other input variable, I can predict what is the value of the Y. That is called as regression. Now, what is the difference between classification and regression tasks? In case of classification, your mapping function is used for mapping values of predefined classes. Whereas in case of regression, it is not only predefined classes, we will have all the possible values. So the mapping function is used for mapping of values to continuous output. That is regression. So we can say that in classification, our output is a discrete values, whereas in regression, it is continuous value. And we can apply this classification for categorical variable. You know what is categorical variable? You will say the labels for identifying different classes, that is called as categorical data. So we can use this classification for categorical prediction, whereas when you go for regression, it is mainly used for predicting the values of numerical data. And in unsupervised learning, you will not have any labels in the data. So how the algorithm is going to work? So since there is no labels in the data, the main aim of the algorithm is to find the similarities, otherwise patterns that are occurring in the data set. That is the main aim of the algorithm. And we can classify the unsupervised learning algorithms into two types. One is called as clustering algorithm, and the other one is called as association algorithm. Now we will see the difference between these two. So what is clustering? Clustering is nothing but a grouping of items based upon their similarity. That is called as clustering. So here I have a basket full of fruits, and I have a different variety of fruits in the basket. So in case of the clustering algorithm, it will group the fruits based upon the similarity. Like here, if you see, the shape and color are different. Okay, so based upon the shape and color, it will group the fruits. And it's not that always we are going to do this based upon the shape and the color. We have different parameters that we will see when we proceed in the remaining part of the syllabus. So clustering algorithm main aim is to discover the inherent groupings in the data. And this algorithm is going to mainly deal with finding patterns in a collection of uncategorized data. This is very, very important. We are not going to categorize the data, but in that collection, you have to find the patterns. And how you are going to find the pattern? Based upon the similarity among the different items. And these clustering algorithms will process the data and find the natural clusters. Okay, the clusters must be natural because we are not giving any labels for that. So it is going to find the clusters which are existing automatically in nature. And sometimes if clusters are not existing, then it may not be grouping the items. We cannot say that always there will be a cluster. Based upon your algorithm, if the cluster is not existing, you will not get any cluster. So if the clusters are existing naturally, it will be finding the clusters. And examples is nothing but whenever we go for any shopping, and there they want to find or group the customers based upon the purchasing behavior. For example, when you go to gold shop or some other thing, based upon the amount for which you are buying the items, they will be grouping you into different groups. And suppose if they find that I'll be often frequently buying diamond, whenever there is some diamond mela, they will send the invitation to me that you can visit the shop and you can buy the diamond. So here they are grouping the customers based upon the purchasing behavior. So based upon that, whenever there is some discount or whenever there is a sale, they can send the invitation only to those group of customers. That is the main aim of clustering algorithms. It is one of the applications. We have so many applications in clustering that we will see later. This is called as clustering, and there are different clustering algorithms existing. And the next is association. You are now very clear with what is association. We have seen that in the second module. So association is mainly used in market basket analysis. So the association rule learning problem is where we want to discover the rules. And these rules describe large portion of our data. Like from our transaction only, we are finding the association rules. They are going to describe what are the frequently bought item in our transaction. So with the help of these association rules, we are going to say that people who bought item X will also tend to buy the item Y. Like if I say bread and egg, some people are buying bread and egg, there is a large possibility that they will also buy milk. So we have antecedent and then consequent in the association rules. So we have seen that we have two different algorithms mainly to deal with these association rule mining. They are nothing but a priori algorithm and then FP growth algorithm. Now we will see what is reinforcement learning. It is a feedback-based machine learning technique. Reinforcement learning is mainly based upon the feedback. And in this, we have something called as agent. And the agent will learn how to behave in an environment by executing certain set of actions. And for every action, the agent will be getting feedback from the feedback. So here, three things we have. One is the agent, second is the environment, and third one is the feedback. And sometimes the action you have executed will be a good action. If that is a good action, then you will get a positive feedback. Sometimes if the action is not a good action, if it is resulting in something bad, then you will get negative bad feedback, which is also known as penalty. So we have now two types of feedback, positive and then penalty. And with the help of this feedback only, the agent will learn. If it is positive feedback, it will know that, okay, I am proceeding in the correct direction, then it will continue with that. If it is negative feedback, agent has to do something because the action it has executed is resulting in a wrong direction. So it has to take some action, some other action. So all the actions taken by the agent are based upon the feedback only. And in this, the agent will be learning automatically only using the feedback because we are not giving any labels for the data. And also, like clustering, we don't have any similarity in the data items because here it is series of actions only. You will have an environment, you will perform series of actions on the environment, then you will achieve your goal. There is nothing called as finding similarities in group of data items. Okay, so here the agent is going to learn everything automatically only by using the feedbacks because we are not giving any labels in the data. And since there is no labels in the data, the agent has to learn only by its previous experience. So whatever action I have executed previously, from that experience only, I'm going to learn something. And this reinforcement learning is mainly used in the applications where your decision making is sequential. Sequential is nothing but think that you are driving an autonomous car. We have seen what is autonomous car, self-driving car. Okay, so in case of self-driving car, you will first start the car, you will execute so many actions. For example, if you see that there is an object in front of you, the brake may be applied. So every action you have to remember because one action is related to the next action. So it is used in applications where your decision making is sequential. Whatever step you are executing right now, it depends upon your previous step. So in those applications only, you are going to use this reinforcement learning. So very famous applications of reinforcement learning are, it is mainly used in robotics because in case of robotics, you may be using a robot for doing your home works in the home. Okay, so in that case, the robot has to move from your kitchen to your dining room. and it will bring the food item for you. So in that case, when the robot is starting from the kitchen, when it is moving towards the dining room, there may be some obstacles in between. So the robot has to take a proper decision so that it will not fall down. Okay, so it is mainly used in reinforcement learning, is mainly used in one of the important area called robotics, and also it is used in game playing. And in autonomous cars also reinforcement learning is used. And in reinforcement learning, we have another reinforcement learning called Q learning, that is quality-based learning, that is also becoming popular nowadays. Okay, so now this is a diagram for understanding the reinforcement learning. As I already told you, you have an agent. This agent is going to perform set of actions, and the agent is going to perform the actions only on the environment. So this is an agent. It is executing an action AI. So when the agent is executing the action will be executed on the environment. Environment is nothing but in which scenario the agent is working. And after I execute the action, two things will happen. So when the action is executed, the state of the environment will be changed. So S stands for state of the environment. At every point of time, you will have a previous state. From that state, you will be going to the next state. And similarly, after executing this action, the agent is going to receive the reward. The reward is called as R. Okay, and based upon this reward only, you will decide whether you have to change the action or not, because the reward can be either positive or it can be a penalty. For example, let us assume that we are using this reinforcement learning, and this is one example. There is a robot here. The main aim of this is the robot should reach to this particular point, end point, and in between, if there is no obstacle, if there is no restriction in the game that, or there is no restriction in the environment that you can move in any direction. If I say that you can move in any direction, there is no restriction for you, just reach the point, then everything is fine, everything is smooth. But here, if you see, the robot cannot move as it likes. It can move either in the right direction, like this, or otherwise in the downward direction, or otherwise the robot can travel in the diagonal also. But if you see here in the diagonal, we have a bomb. So whenever there is a bomb, the robot cannot move. It will destroy the robot. Okay, so all these things are nothing but if the robot is making a movement in this direction, it is going to receive a negative reward. Because what is the reason why I'm receiving negative reward? Because I cannot move. So if I move in the downward direction, I will get positive reward, because that is going to take me towards the goal. Okay, and even if I move in this direction, I will get positive reward. But at this point of time, from this particular place, I cannot move in this direction because there is a lightning that will affect the robot. So we are going to get either positive reward or negative reward based upon our environment. Similarly, you have to take action based upon that. So finally, the robot should reach here. So in this case, the robot has to remember the previous steps it has taken, because everything is sequence of steps only. So only for these applications, you can use the reinforcement learning.